Sparrow Wallet is one of the best desktop options out there for Bitcoin power users, hands down. If you saw my original Sparrow Wallet tutorial, you already know this thing is packed with power. But there is so much to cover that I couldn't possibly fit it into one video. So here we are. Today, we're diving into Sparrow's more advanced features, the kind of tools that give you precision control over your Bitcoin, from message signing and PayNyms to TapSigner support, UTXO freezing, multi-sig batching, and even verifying external software downloads right inside of Sparrow. Whether you're using Sparrow for day-to-day transactions, multi-sig, or stealth mode border wallets, this video will show you how to unlock the full potential of one of Bitcoin's most powerful tools. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. Now, before we get rolling here, just some prerequisites to make sure that you guys are set up. If you're already familiar with Sparrow Wallet and you've used it a bunch, then this is a great place to kind of dive in and learn a little bit more about what's going on and how to utilize some of the stuff you didn't even know was in there. However, if you're brand new to Sparrow, this is not your starting point. This is your follow-up to the original video. So that's going to be in the show notes for you to check out. It is very in-depth, but it starts from bare bones basics. What is Sparrow? How do you use it in the most basic sense? And then building your skills from there. If you can get through that one, then this one is for you. Okay, so we're going to be covering a lot of stuff here. I'm going to split it up into chapters as well. So some tools may be super relevant for you, and other tools you may want to bypass. You don't have a need for them right now. That's totally fine. So check the chapters throughout the video and just skip ahead to what makes sense for you, or just take it all in and learn bit by bit. You can revisit this video time and again because each little section is just dedicated to each tool. So with that, let's dive in and get started with Sparrow's advanced features. The first thing I'm going to cover here is signing and verifying messages. Now, how is this useful? Basically, in Sparrow Wallet, you're able to say that I own a particular Bitcoin address, and I'm going to attach a message to it and sign it using my private key, saying that the person that owns this address has said this message, and we verified that it was them specifically. So this could be useful in terms of like a proof of reserves type of thing. You could, for instance, when Craig Wright was trying to prove he was Satoshi, he was trying to sign messages saying that he owned original Satoshi addresses, but he was bamboozling people. He wasn't truly signing the messages, and cryptographers that knew how this stuff worked saw right through it. So you can verify your ownership of particular addresses or say specific things that are verified by yourself. So I'm going to show an example of this here. So I just have Sparrow Wallet pulled up. This is just a tutorial wallet that I often use in videos. And then I've just got a little notepad here that I'm going to paste some stuff into later when we go to verify a message. So how do you sign a message? First off, you would need the address that you want to associate with yourself, okay? And this might be an address with Bitcoin in it if you're trying to prove ownership of certain Bitcoin. But nonetheless, just for an example, I will grab this address right here. I'm copying an address. Then I'm going to go up to Tools, and I'm going to choose Sign/Verify Message. And it brings me this little pop-up. And so first what I need is the address in question. Then I need a message. What's the message going to be? For this one, I'll just say BTC Sessions owns this address. And then I'm going to say sign, and it's going to give me a unique signature that is specific to both this address and the exact typing of this message. Now, on its own, it means nothing. But if I'm publicly saying myself, hey, I own this address, and somebody says, prove it, now I've cryptographically proven it, or potentially I know somebody that was willing to fake it for me. Okay, so but it's very binary. It's one or the other. There's no possibility that it's just a random address and I was able to fake a cryptographic signature of ownership. So basically, we have three pieces of information and anybody can verify the information. How would somebody verify the information? Well, I'll go ahead and I'll copy all this over really quick. So the address, the exact message, no changes. You change a single character in here and the signature will be completely different. Okay. And then I'll copy the signature last. Okay. So I'll just close out of that again. And then now let's pretend we want to verify a message. Okay. And again, I don't need to have this wallet open or being used or whatever. And just as an example, let's just close everything here. Let's pretend I didn't have that wallet at all. I go to tools. I say sign or verify a message. I'm going to take the address in question. I'm going to take the exact message, no additional spaces or anything. And then I'm going to take the exact signature. I'm going to paste it down below. I'm going to say verify. Verification succeeded. This signature is verified against the message, meaning that the person who owns this Bitcoin address did indeed sign this particular message that says BTC Sessions owns this address. So if I'm publicly stating that I own it and then I can cryptographically prove it, we are golden. So there you have it. Signing and verifying messages inside of Sparrow. In this section, I'm going to cover how to verify software, the signatures of the software from the developer inside of Sparrow. Now, we did cover this in the previous Sparrow video, but we did it with the Sparrow software itself. But this can apply to really any open source project that is signed by developers. So what you're doing is you have a particular key that belongs to a developer that has a long track record of having put out a particular type of software. So you know that this key belongs to the developer. And then there's a new update to that software. And you have an established key that has previously signed every other version of the software. You want to make sure that the same developer has put this out so that you know that it's not some malicious person that got into the repository and put out some sort of malware version. So we're going to do an example of that here with Bitcoin Knots, which is a node implementation of Bitcoin that you can run. I've done a video on that, by the way. You can check it out in the show notes if you like. So I'm going to hit download. So I download the file itself. I'm going to download the digital fingerprints, and I'm going to download the digital signatures. So we basically need the fingerprint. That's who is the person that is the developer. The signature, and the signature is basically saying this piece of software was made by this person, and that's what the signature is confirming. So how do we now go ahead and confirm that in Sparrow? So I've got all this stuff here, boom, 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 within my downloads folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to tools. I'm going to go down to a verify download. And then I need to get the signature, the public key, and the release file. So let's go get the release file first. That's this zip file here. Browse, and we'll go get that and hit open. We'll get the signature. So that's the one that's labeled .asc. And it automatically finds the manifest file for me. Okay, so there we go. So it says Oliver Guger. I'm not sure how to say the last name. My apologies. Manifest matched, ready to install. So green checks across the board. The developer has indeed properly signed this release, and we know we're good to go. That this is safe to install. So there you go. This can apply to the Sparrow software, but it can apply to anything else like Bitcoin Knots or any other project where you can get a signature, a digital fingerprint, and the release file. There you go. In this section, I'm going to cover how to send to many recipients or many Bitcoin addresses at once. And there's actually a couple different ways to do this. There's more of a manual process, and then there's more of an automated way that you can do it. So let's take a look here. Now, I do have this file open, and it has some addresses that I'd like to send to and some amounts and all that kind of stuff and some labels. The file will be relevant a little bit more in a second, but let's first just pretend that I've got some address info, and I know how much I want to send. And we'll just keep this off to the side for a second. So in Sparrow, I'm going to go to the send screen, and it says pay to. So I know that, for instance, this first address here that I have, maybe somebody says, okay, here's my address I'd like you to send to. Okay. And that's going to go to Alice, and I want to send them 100,000 sats. Okay, great. Everything's kind of set up. This is our typical transaction flow that we went through in the previous Sparrow Wallet video. But what if in a single fell swoop, I want to send to multiple people? Well, we can do that. We can do that with this little plus button, this add button right here. So when I press this, it actually gives us tabs. So the first tab will remain the same. The second tab does carry over the label, but I can also change that. And this is where I can add in different information. So perhaps here, I want to grab a different address from somebody else, and this is going to Bob. So I'm going to change that. And maybe I'm going to send over 120,000 sats to Bob. And if I want another person that I can send to, I can hit add again. It does pull over the label from the first transaction. But again, I'll grab a new address. I'll send this over to Caden, and I'll send over, what amount do I want to send over? Let's call it 90,000 sats. Okay, great. And so what this does is it has 3 different outputs that are going to be sent here. And it shows me kind of the flow of the transaction. It shows me, okay, here's the amount going to Alice and Bob and Caden. And from that, I'm also going to get some change. And then there's going to be my on-chain fee. And these are the pieces of Bitcoin, the UTXOs, that we'll be using. And we'll dive a little bit more into that soon here. And then just my fees I can set. At this point, I can create the transaction. I can finalize it. I can sign and broadcast and send it off as we've done in the past. So that's one instance of how somebody might send a UTXO, or rather send a transaction to multiple individuals. But there is an expedited version. In particular, if you've got a CSV file like this, where it's all nicely laid out, and maybe there's like 50 recipients or 100 recipients with different amounts and different labels. Well, we can do that as well. So let's get rid of this transaction. We don't want to do that anymore. And there's actually, if you go up to tools in the top, there is an option that says send to many. And when I hit that, it gives me this nice little layout. And so again, I can paste the information in here and the amounts in here and the labels in here manually. Or if I have a file already, I can hit load CSV. I can find the CSV file, which is right here, the same one that's off to the side, hit open. And look, it sees all of the amounts, all of the labels, all of the addresses. I hit OK, and it fills in the exact same information that I had before, albeit with test 1, test 2, test 3. But if I had put Alice, Bob, and Caden here, it would fill that in for me. Same process at this point. Create transaction, finalize, hit the sign button, and then broadcast it, and you're good to go. So there you go. How to batch send to many people at a time, either manually or by importing a CSV file into Sparrow Wallet. Let's chat UTXO management and labeling, as well as selectively choosing UTXOs for your transactions. So first off, if you're unfamiliar with what a UTXO is, I did an in-depth video on that, which I'll link down below, but we're going to give the Cliffs Notes right now. When you receive Bitcoin, it is not just a singular balance like a bank account, it's more like cash. If you receive a $50 bill and a $20 bill and a $10 bill, you can look into your wallet and see those bills sitting separately. And the same is true of a Bitcoin wallet. And we'll show that right here in Sparrow Wallet here. So if I go over on the left-hand side down to UTXOs, I can see I have 5 pieces of Bitcoin in my wallet, or 5 UTXOs. And we can also see the value of each. So there's one for just over 500,000 sats, 250, 160, 130, 120. So we have these different denominations of Bitcoin that has come into the wallet at different times. And as I click on them, you can see them highlighted up here in the top right based on size. We can also see the labels, and I've just gone through and labeled these, but typically the way those labels work is, of course, when you receive, you type in a label, and usually you type in, where did you receive the money from? So if I go to the UTXOs, I can see I received some from Alice, Bob, Caden, Dave, and Elon. Again, just made up names. This might be exchanges. This might be people you know. It might be change from old transactions. But nonetheless, you get the point. And it shows the date and the address that they're currently sitting in. So what is the use of having it organized like this? Well, there are privacy implications when it comes to your UTXOs. Now, again, I encourage you to check out my privacy playlist, which can be found on btcsessions.ca/learn, or just searching on the YouTube channel. But when you go to spend multiple UTXOs at the same time, which happens if it's above the value of your largest UTXO, typically, kind of like if I have a 50, a 20, and a 10 in my wallet and I want to spend $55, I'm going to have to grab at least the 50 and then one of the other bills, and then I'll have change coming back. The same is true here. If I want to spend more than 542,000 sats, well, I'm going to have to use this UTXO, and I'm also going to have to grab one of these other ones. And usually when you're using a wallet, the wallet will just automate that for you. But if you're being privacy conscious, you may not want those mingling. Why? Well, Alice knows that she sent me 542,000 sats. She can see it still sitting in the address, even though she doesn't own it anymore. She sent it. She knows what address she sent it to. She can see it sitting there on the blockchain. Bob also knows that he sent me 251,000 sats. He can also see it in the address sitting there. But if I go to spend two of these UTXOs together, Bob, let's say I was spending, 580,000 sats, and I end up grabbing the UTXO from Alice and the UTXO from Bob, Bob will be able to see his money combine with Alice's, and Alice will be able to see that too. So then they are able to paint a picture of at least a part of the money that I own. If I go to clear out the wallet, then all of these people will be able to see that I spent all of this money all together at the same time, and they'll paint a picture of what I own, or what I did own if I'm spending out. Now, not as big of a deal here where we're dealing with, UTXOs that are a few $100 each. But what if you have a sizable amount of Bitcoin and you go to spend Bob's UTXO along with $1 million? Bob is going to know you have $1 million. And this is where the rub is. If you're not careful and intentional with your UTXO management, then you may be revealing to people you don't want to know how much money you have. Again, check out the privacy playlist regarding things like CoinJoin. But for now, we're just focusing on the UTXOs. So you can be intentional with what UTXOs you use for what purpose. And keep in mind, when you spend money to a person and they know it's coming from you, they can see the change that you get back as well. So if Alice's UTXO was way larger and it was worth, $50,000 or $100,000, and I went to go buy something from a local merchant on chain, even if it was a $50 purchase, they would see the nearly $100,000 in change that I get back. And so maybe I would want to grab a smaller UTXO to do that transaction. It's kind of like, instead of pulling out $1 million bill to purchase a candy bar at the corner store, maybe I'll pull out a $5 bill instead. That would be much better. I don't want the corner store owner knowing how much cash is in my wallet. So you can be intentional. So how do we actually do this? Well, from the UTXO screen, you can actually select a single or multiple UTXOs that you would like to spend from. So if I just want one, I click on the one I want to use, and down at the bottom I say send selected. By default, it will select the entire UTXO, but I can enter any value below this amount as well. So I could say maybe I want to spend half of it, 75,000 sats. It's coming from that one UTXO. And then I just choose an address that it's going to go to. So for now, I'll just pretend I'm sending it over to my multi-sig wallet up here. And we'll just call it test. But nonetheless, it shows, okay, this is Elon's UTXO I'm spending from. It's going to the test wallet, and I'm going to get some change back to my own address here, and there's a fee. So it shows the flow of the Bitcoin, and I'm very intentional in which bill I'm using in that transaction. Now, just clearing this out again, and there's a clear button. You can go back to UTXOs. Maybe I'm spending a little bit more. Maybe I'm spending, 200,000 sats, but I don't want to pull it from this big chunk. Maybe it's a really big chunk, and I want to pull it from some of my smaller ones. I can select, and what I'm doing is I'm holding the shift button or the control command button, depending on if you're on a Mac or Windows. But I'm selecting multiple UTXOs here, highlighting them, and then saying send selected. Okay, well, I know the two UTXOs I'm using, and maybe I want to send 200,000 sats. Okay, great. Well, that works, and I'm going to send it to my multi-sig wallet, just as an example. We'll call it test. Okay, so it shows me the details of what I'm doing. I'm grabbing a UTXO that Elon sent me and that Dave sent me. They're both being used in the transaction. This much is 200,000 sats going to the test wallet. And then I'm getting change back of 62,000 sats, and I'm paying a fee. So I can be intentional with what bills I pull out, and I can selectively reveal the Bitcoin that I own while hiding the other UTXOs depending on who I am transacting with. Furthermore to this, you can actually freeze UTXOs so they can't accidentally be spent. So let's clear this out one more time. I'll just grab a Bitcoin address that I want to send to, and we'll just call it test. I want to show you how the wallet typically automatically selects UTXOs. So let's say I want to send, 400,000 sats. Okay, well, it's going to pull from the biggest UTXO. If maybe I want to spend 600,000 sats, it's going to grab from a couple different ones, Alice and Caden. Okay, great. So this would automate everything, and then based on my fee, it might switch up how it's working or all that kind of stuff. Nonetheless, it shows me the flow of the transaction. But let's say I didn't want to, maybe there's a reason that I wanted to keep this UTXO Caden frozen. Maybe it's a little sensitive. Maybe I need it to be more private. I don't want it to commingle with funds. I need to save it for later because somebody knows I have it, and I don't want them getting a better view into my net worth or other money that I have. Well, I can actually go into UTXOs. I can say, all right, I don't want Caden knowing what I have. So I'm going to go to his UTXO. I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to say freeze. And now, no matter what, this will not be spent until I unfreeze it. So if I go back and I do the same thing, I want to send here, and I want to spend 600,000 sats, it will not use that UTXO. Notice it swapped out Cadence for Bob's. So now that UTXO is stuck and frozen until I go and manually unfreeze it so that I know that Caden won't begin to see my spending habits. So there you have it. You're able to not only selectively use UTXOs and use multiples together if you want, but you can also freeze UTXOs for privacy purposes to then unfreeze later. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Debify is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. Here we're going to talk about fee targeting and all the tools that are here on the send screen of your Sparrow wallet. So we'll just set up, again, a regular transaction here. I'm going to choose an address. We'll just call it test. And then we'll say I'm going to send 250,000 sats. Okay. So we have this all set up. We choose, we have our fee slider here. Now we've covered the fees a little bit in the previous Sparrow video. So it's pretty straightforward. Fees are worked in a way where it is how many sats are you spending per byte of information that your transaction takes up. There are many things that impact the size of your transaction, namely how many UTXOs you are using in that transaction. Now, we can just simply slide this slider up. And again, not the best time to demo because it is a low fee environment right now. So the lowest is already high priority, but normally this would say low priority, high priority, medium priority, and there'd be colors here representing that. But I can show if I go too high, it'll start to give me a warning like, yo, what are you doing? You are overpaying. Okay. So the same thing is true on the downside. If it's super busy, it'll say like, hey, this transaction may not get through anytime soon. You may want to bump the fee up a little bit. But the thing I wanted to focus on here is this section off to the right. There are 3 tabs here, and I want to explain what they're showing. So this here shows in the past, between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, it shows the mempool, which is on a Bitcoin node, the transactions that are kind of sitting there waiting to be mined and officially added to the Bitcoin blockchain. And it shows the fees that those transactions have paid over this period of time. And it represents it by color. So if I hover, you can see that, and it measures by how many megabytes worth of transactions. So at this time, just after 12 p.m., there was about 3.62 megabytes worth of transactions that had a fee of 1 to 2 sats per byte. There were 0.02 megabytes, so barely anything, of transactions that had 3 to 4 sats per byte, and 0.02 megabytes worth that paid 6 to 8 sats per byte. So we can see that the bulk of people were paying pretty low fees. As we get closer to the time we're at right now, and it might be, there we go, that you can click on it to enlarge it. As we get closer to the time we're at right now, it looks like, there's not a whole lot of transactions in waiting, first off. But secondly, most of them are paying 1 to 2 sats per byte. You can expand this out to 24 hours. And so you can see there was a bit of a spike earlier yesterday. And there were some people that were paying higher fees than they needed to. But it's meant to give you a picture of what are people paying and where are you comfortable sitting. It also lets you know with the high, medium, and low priority indicator here how your fee will fare in terms of expedience. Now, the other thing you can show, this is relatively new, where it says recent blocks. So this will visualize, okay, the past 2 blocks, what was the fee that would be required to get into the next block for sure. And we can see it was 2 sats per VByte. So 2, and the upcoming one looks like, again, it's going to be 2 sats per VByte is for sure. But it's even telling us 1 will likely be okay. So with this, the slider, the higher you move it up, the faster your transaction is likely to go. Now there is one more tab, and it's known as target blocks. And I want to show you how this works because it's a bit of the inverse. So the further to the left the slider is, the faster your transaction will be, but also the more expensive your transaction will be. Now we can actually see that the fees did go up just a little bit. It's a little bit busier, not by much, but it's 2 sats per byte if I want to get into the next block. And we see that represented up here. So if I want to get in the next block, and if I want to get into the second next block, it's probably going to be 2 sats per byte. But if I'm okay waiting another block, so maybe 3 blocks or about 30 minutes, then I can pay 1 sat per byte. And if I want to wait a little bit longer, well, I can continue to slide down. Now, again, fees are low right now, but eventually this would say low priority, and the graph would represent it as, okay, you are paying even less and less and less. So this graph represents how high is your fee over here in sats per byte. So right now it's 1, but you can see if I want it faster, I'm paying more. Okay, so that is what the visualization shows there. Just to reiterate, mempool size just gives you a historical look at how many transactions are waiting and what the people are paying, decoded by colors as you hover. Recent blocks just shows what are people paying in the past few blocks to get in for sure, 2 sats per byte on the high end. And same thing, what is the next block looking like? 2 sats per byte. And if we go to target blocks, it's how soon do you want your transaction to go through? If it's fast, it shows you, and again, the fees went up a little bit, 3 sats per byte next block. Then it shows 2 blocks from now, still 3 sats. And then it drops down to 1 sat. Okay, so it's just different ways to visualize how much you might want to pay in a variety of ways. For this section, we are going to show how to sweep a private key into your wallet. And the example I'm going to use is actually a paper wallet. If you're unfamiliar with paper wallets, back in the day, a lot of people used to create these little things. So it would have like basically an address you could send to, and then a private key that you can use to then remove the funds from it at a later date. Now, what I would say is this is using bitaddress.org, and I wouldn't advise people to do this nowadays. I would say that the risks of somebody putting up a website that is malicious or something like that, it's just not advisable. There's better ways to secure your Bitcoin. But some people may still have some of these lying around. They may find old paper wallets and they need to sweep them, thus the need for a feature like this. And so I'm going to show what this looks like here. Now I'm going to open up this paper wallet as a PDF as well and drag it over just so we can see it. And so again, we've got an address here. This would be a deposit address. And then we've got a private key in the form of a QR code, but also this string of digits that I've highlighted down below. That's the private key. And so how do you sweep a private key in Sparrow? Again, you go up to Tools, you go to Sweep Private Key, and it gives you the option. So you can either paste in that string of digits that I showed right here, or you can scan the QR code. And I'll do scanning the QR code just as an example here. So I'll hit the camera button and we'll do that. There we go. See, and you can cross-reference. You can see the string here is the same as the one on the PDF. So I'll just get rid of that for now. So we've got all the information we need. This gives us all of basically access to that wallet and the ability to sweep the funds. I've loaded it with somewhere around $50 or so, and it shows me the address and it says, let's sweep it to this address. And you can choose different wallets to send it into. So I want to make sure it's going into my tutorial wallet, which it is indeed. And then you can change your fee as you see fit. So I'll just slide it a little bit there. It says create transaction. Okay, so it says, hey, you're taking the funds here, you're sending it to your own wallet, and there's a little fee when you do that. Great, let's go ahead and sweep that private key right now. And there's a transaction. And so did it go to my wallet? Let's find out. Let's X out of the transaction. We're in the tutorial wallet. There we go. We see the funds coming in. So I was able to successfully sweep off this paper wallet that may have been lying around. And the same applies if you just have that string of digits, the bare private key that looks like this for any reason. You can use Sparrow to sweep the funds out of it. So handy little tool baked into Sparrow Wallet. So Sparrow Wallet has a ton of support for different hardware, whether you're plugging that hardware directly into your computer or whether you are air gapping it either with SD cards or QR codes. But a lot of people don't realize that Sparrow Wallet also has support for NFC enabled devices like the TapSigner used directly with your computer. Now, how do you do that? You got to get yourself an NFC pad that you can plug into your computer via a regular USB cable. Now, this one in particular, I picked up from CoinKite, the same people that make the TapSigner and the Cold Card Q. And it's important that you just make sure that whatever pad you do get, it works with your computer. So I'm on a Mac. This one that I got from CoinKite is compatible with it, but I have previously tried to get others from Amazon that did not work. So just make sure you take a second to double check the one you're buying does work. But really simple. I just had to plug this thing in and it just works. So I have it here, and let's take a look in Sparrow Wallet how we can actually utilize this. So we're going to take this TapSigner. It's already set up. So it's already an account and actually already has some money on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create the wallet so we can see it here in Sparrow, and then we'll do a transaction with it as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say File, New Wallet, and we'll just say TapSigner Test, and we'll create the wallet. Then we're going to choose an air-gapped hardware wallet. We'll scroll down and we can see TapSigner down at the bottom with this little Wi-Fi looking signal that is supposed to represent NFC, and it says import. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click that. Now it asks me to type in the PIN for my card. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then what I need to do, and I'll kind of show this, but I've got the device here and I'm going to lay the TapSigner on top of it and just leave it there. And then I'm going to hit the import button in Sparrow. And there, it imports all of our information for the TapSigner. And I'm going to hit apply. I'm not going to add a password for this one. Top left, I go to transactions and it shows me everything. It shows me all the previous transactions. It shows me that I have a balance of 50,000 sats. I'm good to go. And I just needed to use the tap function of the pad, and then we're pretty much set. So let's do a transaction now and send this balance out into our tutorial wallet over here. So we're in the TapSigner. I hit send. Remember, there's the convenient drop down in the pay to field. And I'm going to choose my tutorial wallet to send it to instead of pasting an address. We'll just say test for the transaction name. I'm going to send the max amount, and I'll just set my fee just a tiny bit. And I'm going to create the transaction, finalize it for signing, and then I'm going to hit sign. And I'm going to place the TapSigner on top of the device and hit scan. It sees it. I say sign, and it says enter the PIN code. And sign. There's our signature, and I can broadcast. And there we go. So again, NFC super convenient here on Sparrow, actually. Really, really easy to use. Pretty happy using this. So, you know, TapSigners on your desktop. Nice and simple. Sparrow Wallet also has support for Testnet, meaning that you can do transactions with coins that do not have value so that you can learn the ropes without losing money on transaction fees. So how do you go about doing that? Well, when you're in Sparrow Wallet, all you need to do is you're going to go to Tools and then Restart In. And there's some different options here. Testnet 3 is kind of bogged down and not super reliable anymore, which is why there's now Testnet 4. There's also Signet, which is another method of testing things out. We're going to use Testnet 4 today. So I'm going to choose that. It will restart Sparrow Wallet now. And it's brand new, as if I haven't really set it up. I'm going to choose a new wallet. And we're just going to call it Tutorial Testnet 4. And we'll hit create wallet. We're going to do a new or imported software wallet. We'll just do a 12-word seed, and and we'll generate it brand new. And then we'll just confirm our words. And I hit create key store and import. We can apply and no password for this one. And we can go up to transactions where obviously no transactions yet, no balance. And so let's just test getting some money into this wallet. We're going to use what's known as a faucet. This is where people will send testnet coins to you for testing. So we just need a Bitcoin address or a testnet address here. We're going to go to receive and again, give it a label and we'll say copy the address. Let's go and paste our address in here on the faucet. I'm human. Drag the element. Okay. Skill testing. Oh, I see. There we go. And then we can get our Bitcoin. Okay. There we go. So we've now received some testnet Bitcoin. Oh, geez, 500,000 sats. It'd be nice if that was real money. Either way, we now have a balance in our testnet wallet, which is awesome. And so now we can send and receive and test transactions without actually having to put real funds at risk. And it works just like a regular Bitcoin wallet. So super cool. Again, another great feature of Sparrow if you're looking to experiment and learn. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? UTXO Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. UTXO also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, UTXO is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download UTXO Wallet today.
If you've been around Bitcoin for more than a minute, you've definitely seen something made by Crypto Cloaks. Since 2017, they've been the go-to for badass 3D printed Bitcoin gear, from custom home mining rigs to sleek hardware wallet mounts that make your setup look pro. I've been stacking Cloaks gear for years, and most recently I grabbed their Gamma case for my miner. Let me tell you, it turns some heads. You can customize everything, and of course, the legendary Bitcoin grenade, yeah, that's them. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code to visit CryptoCloaks.com and stack your own custom Cloaks gear today.
Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With Nunchuck's Honey Badger plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. Nunchuck is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The Honey Badger plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the Honey Badger plan. Another great privacy feature that Sparrow Wallet has baked in is something called PayNyms, or payment codes. This allows you to have a static piece of information that you can paste anywhere that doesn't actually show any of your addresses, meaning that nobody can look at an address, know it's yours, and then track a whole bunch of different payments that go to it. In the old days, people used to take a single Bitcoin address, paste it online and say, hey, donations here for whatever cause. But that allows every person to see every transaction that goes through there and where all those transactions go next. A payment code allows you to say, here's this code. When you connect to it, you'll be able to generate an address for just yourself to send to, and it'll give a new one to each person that sends. So it preserves additional privacy in that mechanism. So let's take a look. I've created a new wallet here specifically for this. And what we're going to do in that wallet is we're going to go to Tools and then Show PayNym. And we already have a payment code. It looks like this, and it has a QR code. This is reusable as well, but we can actually get a more user-readable PayNym that we can share much easier. So we'll hit Retrieve PayNym, and it gives me this. It's a little plus sign at the front, and then it says Grubby Tradition 61. So that is my PayNym. And I can share that with somebody, and they'll be able to generate addresses to send me money. So I'm going to copy that information, and we'll close this. And let's head back over to the tutorial wallet we were working from before and try sending or setting up a connection so that we can send to that person. So we're going to go to Send, and we're going to hit the drop-down arrow and choose PayNym or Payment Code. And so you can see I already have a contact here, but we're going to search for the new one that we just created. And we can see it right here, Grubby Tradition 61. We're going to add that contact. Perfect. So they're now a contact. Now we want to link the contact. And it says, hey, it will cost 546 sats to create a link through a notification transaction plus the mining fee. Do you want to send this? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to send it. And now we are linked. It cost me about 782 sats at the time of recording this video to link now. So now this contact I can easily send to. I don't have to ever ask them for a Bitcoin address again because I have their payment code through their PayNym. So just to recenter ourselves, we go back to our main screen here. I want to send my friend or my linked friend or contact a certain amount of money. Well, I can just go to Send. I can go Pay To and PayNym or Payment Code. There's the person I was connected to. I send to that contact. And then I can we'll just say test. We'll send over 50,000 sats and bump the fee just a tad, finalize, sign, and broadcast. Again, we didn't see a Bitcoin address, but we were able to generate one independently using the PayNym code. So if I close out of this, we go to the wallet, well, there's the money coming in. And we can see even the PayNym that it came from because it's this additional network on top of Bitcoin that allows us to get these PayNym codes from each other. To send it back, same thing, Pay To, I can just go PayNym or Payment Code. Now I can add a contact. So I haven't on the PayNym wallet actually added this person yet. So it came from Keener, whatever it is, came from this person. So we'll just copy their payment code as well. And we'll go send PayNym or payment code. Let's find that contact, add them, link them. There we go. And now we can send to them easily. So each person, if they're going to be sending regularly to the other person, they need to do that link transaction as well. But now I can send, again, we'll just call it test. We'll send the max all the way back. Create, finalize, sign, and broadcast. So again, what we've done, every time that I want to set up a link to be able to send to somebody, I have to add them, search for them as a contact, and then I have to do a linking transaction. But after that point, I never have to do that again. I can always generate a new address for the other person. If the other person wants to be able to do the same for me, they will also be required to do that linking transaction. And then from here on in, they no longer have to. So super awesome. A great way to be able to share a static payment address for people to pay you on-chain Bitcoin without leaking your addresses. So I want to cover in this section the settings screen in Sparrow, namely the Keystores section that gives you a bunch of information about your wallet. So let's take a look at the screen now and just kind of see what's in front of us. So again, it will tell you the type of wallet. So a software wallet in this example with our tutorial wallet. The label is just called BIP39. You can label it whatever you like. And that's the label for the key. Master fingerprint. A master fingerprint is a unique identifier for your wallet. And this is particularly useful for me when I do something like link a cold card or something like that with Sparrow, and I want to double check that the key on my cold card is the same public key that is associated with a wallet on my computer. I can check the master fingerprint because the cold card allows you to see what the master fingerprint is. Many other wallets will as well. Now I want to, and by the way, this will change with any change to your wallet. And so what I mean by that is if you go and add something like a passphrase, it's a completely different wallet. It will change the master fingerprint. Now, below this is the derivation path. And let's take a look at what these things mean. Unchained has created a nice little page explaining the derivation path and what it is. Okay. And so I want to take a look at basically the parts of it and how to read it. So when you are looking at a derivation path, we can see here ours says M8400. So what do those numbers mean? Well, M just stands for it's the master key that's governing the wallet. In a multi-sig, sometimes it may actually give you the master fingerprint in its place just to let you know which key it's referring to. But nonetheless, it's just referring to the master key. Now, the 84, this is the purpose of the wallet. What type of address scheme are you using? There are lots of different address types in Bitcoin. There's legacy addresses, nested SegWit addresses, multi-sig SegWit or legacy addresses, Bec32, native SegWit addresses, Taproot addresses, and all of them start a little bit different and have a slightly different purpose. But it just helps indicate which type you're using. So when we look at this purpose here, we scroll down a little bit. 44, this is the original default Bitcoin addresses. They started with a 1. 45, this would indicate a legacy multi-sig address. Those ones started with a 3. A SegWit multi-sig address, this would be 48. A nested SegWit single sig wallet would be 49. Then there would be a native SegWit wallet, which is 84, which is what we're using currently with the tutorial wallet. And 86 indicates that you're using Taproot addresses. So it's basically about what type of addresses are you using in your Bitcoin wallet. Now, as we continue down the list, pretty simple here from here on in. So the next one, and there's more than there are present in the derivation path here, because you can use the derivation path to actually seek out specific addresses, whereas this is just the overarching wallet. So we don't have, this includes a lot of different addresses. So we're not getting specific here, but let's take a look. So the first section here is the type of addresses, the purpose. The second section here is the coin type. Are you on mainnet or are you on testnet? The third section here is the account. So you can have multiple accounts within a wallet. So, here we go in Sparrow, you can hit add account and you have a drop down, account 1, account 2, account 3. It starts with account 0, which is the default of what we're on. So that's basically asking which account are you using. Then it says, what type of address is this? There's two types, a deposit address where you would be receiving funds from somebody else, or a change address where when you go to send and there's leftover change, it comes back to you. Those are segregated. And then finally, the address index. So let's say we're using our native SegWit wallet on mainnet with account 0. we're using a deposit address for somebody to send to us. And if it's the first address we've ever used, it would be address 0, and then it would just count up and up from there. So this is how you look at the derivation path when you're looking here. Of course, this just pertains to the overarching wallet. If you're looking at specific addresses, that's where those following additional metrics come in. I'm going to quickly show you what border wallets are and how to use them. This is an excellent tool that has been built and added into Sparrow Wallet. I've done a video on it before, so this will be kind of a quickie review of it. But we're going to create a new wallet here, and we're just going to call it Border Wallet Test, and we'll create it. And then we're going to choose a new or imported software wallet. And we're going to choose, instead of our words here, we're going to choose a border wallets grid. And that gives us this funky looking thing. So what is this? Well, we're going to generate a new grid, and we'll hit generate new. And this gives us 12 words. Now you might think, oh, that's your backup. That's your 12 words for your seed phrase. It's important, but it is not your seed phrase. This seed phrase is going to basically tell the program here what order to put every single possible seed word into this grid behind it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to hit OK, and we're going to save a copy of this grid of all of the seed words in this particular order as a file on our desktop. Now I know you might be going, what in the hell are we doing? Stay with me. We will let you know exactly what's going on right now. So these words are very uniquely positioned. They're in a very unique order, and there's a lot of them. 2048 to be specific. And so what we would be doing is we would be drawing an image by clicking on boxes in order to create an image that's very easy to remember. People are really good at remembering imagery. So maybe I want to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, I can choose 11 or 23 words, so one word shy of a seed phrase. So we'll go with something simple like this. Now, this is very easy for me to remember, this pattern. Basically a number 2 starting from the first box. Now, you may want to get funky and go from a different spot on the screen. The most important part is you remember where you started and then how you drew the image in what order. But that's pretty much it. I don't need to remember these words. So I'm going to hit OK. And it fills in those words, and then it says, okay, now choose the last word. Which last word do you want? You can go basic and choose like the first option or the last option, or maybe there's a word that stands out to you here that will be really easy for you to remember. So profit. Profit sounds like an easy to remember word, so I'm going to hit profit. And then I'm going to hit create and import and apply. So I now have a Bitcoin wallet, and this Bitcoin wallet functions like any other Bitcoin wallet. I can send, receive, do whatever. The purpose of a border wallet is to be able to cross a border with information that cannot be easily compromised, meaning we had a file that was on our desktop, and it was a border wallet file. And I'm going to drag it over here. So this border wallet file just gives us our grid. That's it. Nothing else. It's just a mess of words. Nobody would be able to know what to do with this. It's just all the seed words. It's like every possible wallet is on here. And so for me, though, I know the pattern that I drew. Very, very simple. And I can remember the one word that I had to remember, which was profit. And so from this grid, I'm able to recover my seed phrase. So you could put this grid on an SD card. You could put it in cloud storage. You could email it to yourself. You could do whatever. The whole point of it is, in a pinch, being able to cross a border where, if you're physically searched for your seed phrase, well, if they found this, no big deal. If you put it in the cloud, people finding this are not going to know what to do with it. If you have like a very easy to guess pattern, that's one thing, but you're banking on only using this as you are traveling and then sweeping it afterwards. So let's look at what it would be like to recover with the file. Now, when we got a seed phrase initially, remember when we set it up, those were 12 words. You could also just write down those 12 words, and by typing in those 12 words, you would also recover your border wallet. And we'll take a look at that in a second. But let's just close this. We'll say, okay, we want a new wallet, border 2. Going to create the wallet. We're going to do a new or imported. We're going to do a border wallets grid. And then we're going to load the file that we have. And we'll choose border wallets entropy grid. So that loads in the words in the same order that we had them. And now I can just draw my pattern. I hit OK. And then what was my word? It was profit. So where is that? There we go. Create, import, apply. And there we go. We have our same wallet. If there were funds there, we would now have access to them. All we had to do was remember a pattern and a single word. Again, if we wanted to do the actual seed phrase to regenerate that border wallet, it would be, okay, new wallet, border 3, new or imported software wallet, border wallets grid. And you can generate a grid, and then you would type in your 12 words here, which would also generate the same pattern that we saw by importing the file. So a few different ways to recover. But again, the name of the game is getting across a border without sensitive information on your person. You can also export your wallets from Sparrow in a variety of ways that allow it to be compatible with other wallets. And this is pretty easy when you're using something like a seed phrase, but if you're using something like multisig, sometimes there can be compatibility issues, but not with Sparrow because they have this handy export feature. You simply go to File, Export Wallet, and then you choose the type of file you want to export. Maybe it's just a Sparrow file so that you can import it to another Sparrow wallet on another computer, but they have different types for different things. So I'm going to use the example of Electrum. So I'm going to export an Electrum file, and I'll put it on my desktop, and we'll hit save. And then over here in Electrum, I'm going to restore a wallet. I'm going to choose that file that I just created on desktop. We'll click that, hit open, and we'll hit finish. And we'll jump over here, and there we go. So this is actually the same wallet that is here in Sparrow. So if I hit receive, and if I hit receive, and so here we can see that the Bitcoin address over here in Electrum is the same as the Bitcoin address up here in Sparrow. So we've successfully exported a multi-sig wallet. This is a multi-sig wallet I created, and we're able to see it here in Electrum as well. So super handy. And again, there's lots of different ways to export. You can see here like Unchained, and Unchained has their Caravan open source thing. So you can export a file like that. For multi-sig, lots of different options when it comes to exporting. So just a further convenience added in to Sparrow. In Sparrow Wallet, it makes it very easy to bump your transaction if you've attached a low fee and fee spike and you want it to go faster. Very simple to do. So let's go to send a transaction. I'm just going to send it back to myself. So a consolidation transaction. And we'll just label it. And I'm going to send, I don't know, 100,000 sats. Okay, perfect. Now at this point, I can set my fee low. Even though fees are low right now, I'm just going to leave it as 1 sat per VByte. Create the transaction, and we'll send it. Okay, so off that transaction goes. I'll X out of that. There's my transaction. But let's say it was taking a long time. Geez, I wish this would go faster. There's too many transactions happening. So what I can do here is if I hover over where it says unconfirmed, there's this little hand with a plus. I can click on that and it allows me to bump my fee. In fact, it automatically suggests a fee for me to bump it to. So I'm going to leave that. It is bumped up a little bit. I can even bump it up more if I want, but I'll just leave it here. I'm going to create the transaction, finalize it, sign. And there we go. So we now basically replaced that transaction. If we X out of it and go to transactions, we can see we replaced that transaction with one that is paying a higher fee. It looks kind of funky because I'm sending it to myself. So all that I see is 812 sats going out of the wallet because I'm paying the fee. But the rest of the money is staying within my own addresses. But if I was sending to somebody else, the same would be true. It would just replace the transaction with a higher fee one. Once again, it is astounding to me how many features have been baked into Sparrow Wallet, and I'm nearly certain that I've forgotten some. So should I become aware of enough pieces of content to piece together yet another Sparrow Wallet, which I would not be surprised, I will be back for a round 3 of additional Sparrow features. But in the meantime, anything else that I've mentioned here, whether it be hardware, whether it be external wallets, whether it be other different tools in and around the Bitcoin space, I've most certainly made a video on it. So be sure to peruse through not only the show notes, but around the channel, and head over to btcsessions.ca/learn for not only a list of skills that you should definitely level up on, but playlists on a whole bunch of different skills so you can kind of choose your own adventure. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, share. All those things help a ton. And again, that Zero to Hero Bitcoiner page with all these tutorials here and playlists, please do check it out over at btcsessions.ca/learn. But if you need some additional handholding and the tutorials are not quite cutting it, head over to bitcoinmentor.io where you can book one-on-one education sessions with my incredible team, and you can speed run your education journey to make sure you're leveled up and your stack is secure. With that, I'm out. Have a wonderful day or evening. Keep stacking sats, but also keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session.